Hello, I am the Godless Engineer, and tonight we are talking with King Crocoduck from YouTube, one of the most badass YouTubers that I can personally think of. um, and just to give you a little read from his About section, he is a student of physics and astronomy. He loves science and absolutely abhors with a vengeance those who seek to defecate all over it in the name of their favorite fables. If you hold a belief that runs contrary to the general scientific consensus, that's your prerogative. But if you take the next step and declare that your holy book, favorite conspiracy theorist, or personal feelings are the source of your denial of science, i.e., that the reliability of the entire scientific enterprise is superseded by doltish nonsense, then prepare to be intellectually eviscerated. Credulous people beware. This channel is designed to crush your pseudo-intellectual beliefs. You will walk away a smarter person, but it will come at the expense of the comfort and or fulfillment you gain from pseudoscience. You have been warned. There's only one Crocoduck, and Kirk Cameron is his prophet. So, alright, Crocoduck, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Got the kid in bed and everything like that, so, he's tucked in, ready to just get on to it with you. Um, Tell us about your religious background. Like, what kind of religion do you come from, if you come from any?
Well, I was actually never religious, but I did come from a Jewish background. Went to Saturday school, did the whole bar mitzvah thing, um, but it was never really a significant part of my life. I remember doubting it even when I was a child. I remember telling my cousin when I was like 6 or 7 years old that I didn't believe in God, and she like gasped in horror and saying, "I'm telling on you." And that was like my first I guess, identifying memory of being an atheist.
I'm gonna tell on you because you're gonna get in trouble and put in time out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So, you said you went through the whole bar mitzvah deal. What kind of is entailed in that?
Well, first of all, I had to learn Hebrew, which was kind of a pain in the ass because Hebrew, they don't read left to right, they read right to left. And that was a little bit disorienting. And also, they don't have vowels. Or rather, they do have vowels, but they don't put them in. You're supposed to guess how the word is supposed to sound. Um,
It
anyway, I
seems a
had,
little weird.
yeah, it was not fun. Anyway, to get a feel for what the Torah was saying, I had to read the entire Torah. The Christians would call it the Old Testament. Jews call it the Torah. I had to read the entire thing in Hebrew, which sucked. And then for the actual bar mitzvah, I just had to read a few passages. Um, and that was pretty much all there was to it. Read a few passages, light a few candles,
Now, is
go
the
home.
bar is the bar mitzvah the one where you get like a shitload of money, or was that is that another one?
Yeah, that's it. Except pretty much all the money that was given to us, we had to spend it on like the party and reservations and stuff. So we broke even.
Oh, that's cool. Was it a pretty big turnout, I guess?
Yeah, a bunch of old crazy Russian relatives. That's
Russian relatives.
yeah. I'm actually a Russian. Well, my family is from Russia, but
Oh,
I was born here. And Russian Jews, they have very interesting parties.
I bet they do.
Hmm.
Did you have any, I guess, interesting experiences other than the bar mitzvah growing up in kind of a Jewish family?
Well, I had a lot of arguments, theological arguments with different family members. I still do to this day. Um, Everything good over there?
Oh yeah, sorry. My headset was dying, so I just had
Oh,
to
I
get
got you.
a USB. Sorry. Go ahead.
Um, I also had a lot of theological arguments with the rabbi of the Saturday school where I went to like learn about the shit you have to learn for the bar mitzvah. Uh, and I remember distinctly that he treated me differently as a result of me being an atheist. Um, it was the first time that I felt, I guess, discriminated against for something I didn't really have any control over. Um, it was it was a new experience for me. I'm a white guy. I don't really feel that much discrimination day to day, so this was something entirely new to me. Um, it was odd. This grown man could have such a grudge against like this 12-year-old kid over something as what I thought was trivial as a belief in some arbitrary thing.
Yeah, I find it amazing that people get so, I guess, just mean, like, about their faith. And it doesn't matter like who they're being mean to. It could be a small child or something, but just if you do something that they don't like, they just immediately have to uh, turn that into like hatred or something. But that always kind of amazes me.
Yeah. I mean, he's an
um,
okay he's an okay guy in every other respect. We never saw eye to eye.
yeah. So, like, as far as you not really subscribing to the faith, um, what what was your social environment like? Were you pretty much surrounded by other Jewish relatives or other religions, or what was that like? Growing up.
Well, most of the people in my immediate family, actually had more of a deistic outlook, um, though they too were not very happy with the fact I was an atheist for a long time. I remember one incident. I was in the back of a car, and my parents were talking to me about, no, now that I had a bar mitzvah, I was a man, etc., etc. And I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in God. And then they turn around and like gasp in horror. They're like, we have to go to as a temple. There's a synagogue every Friday or every Saturday. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Yes, and yes, those are actually their accents.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they're
I just that just seems like a pretty big bomb to drop. it just it's like, yeah, I don't believe in God. What? I could just imagine like slamming on the brakes and being like,
no,
pulling
no,
the
it wasn't
car
that
over.
dramatic. It wasn't that dramatic. It was just gasping in horror, and then they forgot about it by the end of the day because really, when you get down to it, they didn't really care. The Jews don't really have a concept of hell, so it's not as ingrained as it might be with the other religions. Um, yeah.
Okay. Well, I know there's been plenty of times when you've mentioned your time as like a 9/11 truther. I'm just kind of curious, how that kind of played out with your rejection uh, early on of a deity or of this faith, and then subsequently picking that up. I mean, like, I guess, did it? Oh no, the question that I have written down is, did your 9/11 truther phase play into your deconversion? But it's obvious that it didn't. Um,
I would say that my 9/11 truther phase did contribute greatly, though, to my scientific background.
okay.
Um, and in fact, the fact that I was able to throw off that 9/11 truther thing before any creationists came along and infected me with their pseudoscience, I feel very fortunate for that because I think that if any creationists had come along with all of these arguments that Ken Ham, Eric Hovind have, and they would have come to me with it before I learned about the scientific method and how, I'm actually supposed to think about things rationally and empirically. I could very well have had a creationist channel instead of one debunking creationism.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way to look at that. What specifically got you to kind of I guess turn away from the 9/11 truther thing?
Well, in the middle of my senior year of high school, I I became very interested in physics and astronomy. Um, some friends of mine, uh, mutual friends of my prom date actually, uh, they were reading Cosmos by Carl Sagan, and by that point they were already like into the whole atheist science nerd scene, and they sort of absorbed me into that. Uh, and after learning about science and the ruthless application of it over the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, I completely abandoned my 9/11 truther beliefs after holding it for like 2 years.
Oh wow. Uh, so as far as what you were looking into, what did you kind of start off with? Like, was there any certain thing that you really started off with that kind of jump started your appetite for it?
Well, I guess it was my acquaintanceship with creationism that came, I guess, second half of my senior year of high school. Before that, I never really knew that there were people who actually thought the universe was 6,000 years old. I grew up in what one might think is a liberal haven. I'm from Southern California, and you know, we're just insulated from all of that crazy stuff from different parts of the country.
Like North
Uh,
Alabama.
yeah, exactly. And I happen to know this family. I was good friends with a couple members of that family, Christian fundamentalists, and there was a tremendous amount of venom directed at me because I didn't accept, not just the existence of God, but also that evolution was a lie and that the Big Bang was a lie and all this other stuff. At the time when I knew these people and actually acquainted with them, I wasn't that well acquainted with science, but I did know enough about science to know that 6,000-year-old universe, it just doesn't fucking fly. Um, the existence of God was something that I was always very interested in arguing over. The children of that family, who were about my age, um, they seemed more or less okay with having those discussions, but the parents, they just wouldn't hear it. Um, so
Well,
I,
well,
I became very I became very interested in what would motivate someone to believe such crazy things like dinosaurs were on Noah's fucking ark. And I went online, did some research. I became reacquainted with the YouTube community scene, the atheist community. I actually had been lurking around for a while before that, but this time I actually like really got into it. Uh, I, I finally was able to appreciate the reasons for which they accepted these claims, but I was able to completely refute them. And when it came to that point where I could just completely shut these people down, well, that's when they pretty much dropped me off, no longer had any contact with me.
oh wow. So you're talking about the fundamentalist kind of Christian people that you knew. They just dropped you.
Yeah, and this combined with the incident with the rabbi about he how he was treating me differently, it occurred to me that religion was taking all these decent and normal people who I could have been friendly with, and for no other reason than something as arbitrary as me not sharing their perspective, uh, they were willing to just treat me like shit. And this was sort of my beginnings as a person who wanted to fight back against that sort of attitude.
Yeah. Like I said before, it really amazes me how shitty a person can turn just because you offend their faith or their sensibilities.
Hmm.
Um,
And I was actually very polite back then, a lot more polite than I am now. Uh,
so you didn't come off being like you fucking imbeciles.
no, no, I was very cordial. I never interrupted them, even though they would interrupt me like before I was halfway done with my sentences. I was all relaxed. They were blue in the face. I mean, it's very difficult to have a conversation with people who are so emotionally invested in, something as arbitrary as this.
Yeah. I remember in this one little, I guess, confrontation with a pastor or open air preacher or whatnot. He had asked you, if everything that you have learned about science was, proven wrong, like the next day or something, would you feel like you wasted your life? Uh, would you mind, what would your answer be for that?
Um, could you restate the question? I'm not sure I fully understand.
Oh, okay. So, if somebody came along and completely turned science around, and everything that you had been learning and everything that you had been taught has been proven false or whatnot, how would you feel about that?
Well, I'd naturally feel very upset, but I wouldn't really. I mean, if the evidence was forthcoming and if it really was solid what they were saying, I wouldn't really be in any position to deny it. I don't believe in what science says so much as what I believe. So much as I believe in what science tries to accomplish. Um, what science tries to accomplish is a better understanding of how the world operates, and uh, that philosophy of all conclusions are tentative, everything has to be tested, nothing can be accepted absolutely. I hold to these tenets stronger than I hold to the actual conclusions of science, which you have to, otherwise you're a pseudoscientist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the point that I was kind of wanting to, I guess, highlight there was the major differences between an obviously rational, reasonable mind versus, a horribly indoctrinated mind. Because while you would, accept that change, on one hand you'd be upset about it, but on another hand, I mean, you would accept it. You wouldn't get mad and lash out at people, as opposed to, how creationists seem to act on occasion.
Yeah. I mean, if evolution or the Big Bang, especially the Big Bang, was proven wrong tomorrow, I'd probably go to my local bar and get shit-faced drunk. But, beyond that, I'll just move on with my life. It's not something that, I really base my life on.
Right. And I love it how a lot of creationists or fundamentalists in general, they try to use that as like a religion, calling the Big Bang or evolution like a religious worldview or something
No,
like that.
yeah, they
It
want to put us on a on a level playing field, even though we're not. I mean, they're they're at the bottom of the fucking Black Sea or whatever the deepest body of water is. There's is the Dead Sea. I don't remember. Um, whatever the deepest body of water is, they're at the bottom.
yeah,
Science,
they're all the fuck way down there.
yeah. Science is at the top of Mount fucking Everest. No, fuck that. It's on the top of Olympus Mons on Mars.
Yeah. But this kind of segues into the next question that I have is do you find creationism to be harmful?
Yes, definitely.
All right, well,
Holding.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Um, Holding to any irrational belief, especially if you have an emotional vested interest in it, is extremely unhealthy. If you define who you are as a person, as many creationists do, based on whether evolution actually happened or not, that is an extremely unhealthy way to live. Uh, in fact, basing who you are on any belief is extremely unhealthy. And creationism carries on this moral baggage with it that if you accept evolutionary theory, then somehow you can't be a moral person. This is what Ken Ham tries to argue. He tries to say that evolutionary theory corrupts the entire Christian worldview, that all Christian morals collapse as a result of not taking Genesis literally, for instance. And this is the sort of thing that's designed to engineer conformity, and it's using pseudoscience as a vehicle to achieve that end. I take serious issue with that.
Yeah, me too. With Ken Ham and just creationists in general that say that morals are attached to any certain religious belief is just it's pretty laughable to me because you can look at just take three major social shifts in the past, slavery, women's rights, and the LGBT community. um, if you just take those three things and you really think about it, it wasn't it wasn't religion or any kind of religious organization that was behind that. It's not like they came out as like, oh hey, you fuckers got this wrong in the book. We're not actually supposed to treat women like shit. Let's give them a say and stuff. I mean, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was people outside of religion that were pushing to make those changes, like pushing to, end slavery. And with the slavery aspect, I mean, we even still see some of that going on today with, racism and whatnot. I mean, I believe it was either last year or the year before, there was a preacher in Tennessee that was actually using the Bible to deny interracial couples the right to marry. Like he was saying that he wouldn't marry interracial couples because it's against the Bible and against
This shouldn't
God.
come as a surprise to anybody. Ken Ham likes to say that evolution is responsible for racism, but I mean, you take a respected professor of evolutionary biology at an Ivy League university and compare it to a creationist living, in a trailer in, I don't know, some redneck part of the world, and you tell me which of those is more likely to be a racist.
Yeah,
I just find the projection supremely ironic.
yeah. No, I completely agree. Do you? There's been this kind of opinion that's really been being pushed lately that teaching a child creationism could be considered a form of child abuse. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it would depend on the context in which creationism is being taught. If it's being taught as part of this worldview where if you don't believe in it, you're on the path to hell, I'd say that's most definitely abuse. But if you talk about it, I don't know, to a 4-year-old within the context of, this is like Santa Claus, this is how everything happened, and then eventually you tell them, nah, it's actually more complicated than that, I guess that's all right. I personally don't think that's ideal, but I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it. I think ideally creationism should be taught to children as one of many of the myths concerning our origins, taught alongside with the Greek myths, the Babylonian myths, the Egyptian myths, the Aztec myths. I think it could be essential for a well-rounded education for children, as long as it's made clear that these are just stories from ancient cultures.
Yeah, exactly. I've always kind of had the opinion that teaching, I guess, basically the idea of creationism or intelligent design is like, is like a part of our history. Is like, people believe this at one time. I've always felt that would be like a really good class to have, like in high school or even earlier than that in a more simpler context. But really stating the fact that these are myths. The world's not 6,000 years old, but I mean, I can just imagine if they actually implemented that, the amount of outrage that would happen, over teachers saying, no, the world's not 6,000 years old. Like it shouldn't be that way, but at the same time, you just know that it would cause a shitstorm.
hmm Definitely, especially in this country.
Yeah.
I
Speaking
mean,
of that, oh, go ahead.
they want creationism in the schools. Give them what they want. Put it in a fucking religious studies class. Let it be evaluated alongside every other creation myth.
Oh yeah, no, and I think that a lot of people would find them very similar. And I think that part of me wants to think that maybe the reason why they get so upset over that is because they don't want their kids to connect the dots, or they don't want people comparing their religion to something so similar that it's gonna make it click. you know.
Yeah.
But speaking of classrooms and getting the myths taught in the classrooms, I can guess your answer, but how do you feel about them trying to push creationism into like science classes?
Oh, I totally support that. Uh,
Yeah.
Come
Thanks.
on, man. What kind of question is that?
Yeah, I know, I know, but just hearing your point of view of it, I think would be pretty interesting.
I don't think I have anything profound to add. I mean, you want to put creationism in biology classes? Let's put alchemy in chemistry classes. Let's put astrology in astronomy classes. Let's put magic in physics classes. I mean, we can do this all day.
Yeah, I can just imagine a kid there with a stick being like Expelliarmus. um, uh, kind of changing subject radically here. How do you feel about open air preachers like Ray Comfort and whatnot? I know you've made a few videos confronting him or debunking his bullshittery, but how do you feel about those types of preachers in general?
I think they're obnoxious dictards. Um, I mean, hear me out. Since when is it socially acceptable behavior to go out in the middle of the street and tell other people that if they're not like you and they don't believe what you believe, they're going to burn in hell? Oh, and by the way, all the scientists in this institution, they're full of shit, but I know better, even though I have no credentials in this area. I mean, you're going to get intellectually bitch slapped, and you deserve it.
Yeah. No, and I have to say, I love how you served up that one guy right outside your school. I thought that was pretty epic, and yeah, I know a lot of other people did too. But, but yeah, I personally abhor these types of preachers as well. There is actually a video that I saw where there was a street preacher that was that had an angry crowd of other Christians like around him. Like it looked like a mob. Like no shit, it looked like a mob was about to maul a Christian. A Christian mob was about to maul a Christian.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. People like this asshole. We all know reasonable Christians, or at least I hope we do. We all know Christians who are willing to sit down and have a rational discussion. Even though we might disagree, we can still, walk away at least appreciating why the other person believes what they do. With people like this, there's no talking to them. The only appropriate response to the things they say is a middle finger. And Christians, the normal Christians, feel like people like this are discrediting them. So I I applaud the Christians who do go against that. And on a somewhat not completely related point, I also applaud the Muslims who demonstrate against the terrorist attacks, uh, the ones who hold up the sign saying "Jesui Charlie." When the moderates are willing to stand up to the fundamentalists, that's a good thing, and I'm willing to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, me too. And honestly, when the Charlie Hebdo attack happened, I knew the immediate response was going to be, fuck Muslims. But I felt compelled to really highlight how there really are some Muslims, or there are Muslims out there that are just not like that. You need to keep that in mind so you don't look like a dumbass. And
Yeah.
I got called like an Islamic apologist for it. Uh, just for the pure simple fact that I acknowledge that, I'm not going to pigeonhole every single Muslim into one type of Muslim behavior. Um,
It's important though to not lose sight of the fact that even if we say that 1% of all Muslims are extremists who are willing to do things like this, you have to remember that's 10 million people. Uh, this isn't a joke, and this is something that should be taken very seriously. So to that effect, I am willing to criticize Islam and the people who hold to these fundamentalist beliefs. And I'm also willing to criticize the moderates who, not only for general beliefs, but also for not standing up against these fundamentalist barbarians.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's one thing that I usually try to highlight as well is the fact that these Islamic ideals, they really penetrate every facet of the Islamic world, like every level of belief, I guess you could say. They penetrate down because I know Sam Harris even said this on his Bill Maher interview of how a lot of Muslims in the UK, a good portion of them felt that the Danish cartoonist needed to have some kind of actual, I guess, legal action taken against them because they drew Muhammad in a not so nice way. And so, I mean, these ideals really do penetrate down, every facet of the religious faith. And so, it's always, I don't know why it is for Islam, but it seems to be really big trouble or really really hard for people to separate out, like, attacking their fundamentalists and their beliefs, and still, I guess, kind of respecting the person.
I would postulate that Christianity is much the same. Um, I just think the only difference is Muslims are generally much more open about their desire for a theocracy. Christians living primarily in first world countries know that doesn't boil over so well, but it's pretty clear that, uh, you know, when people like Saip ten Bruggenkit, who actually admitted he would like to see a Christian theocracy, uh, there are Christians who would never actually say that out loud, but privately agree.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you really remember, but Steven Anderson, he's a pastor in, I believe it's New Mexico, but he wants to kill all homosexual people, or he wants the government to kill all homosexual people. And I mean, basically, that's what he is really purporting is, a a theocracy, and he's not ashamed to say it, basically. And one thing that I fear is that a lot more politicians are getting to the point where they're not so afraid to say, hey, we want a theocracy, we want God in our government. And the fact that they can't see that that's a blatant violation is just astounding to me.
I'm sure they do see it, but, double think.
They just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
um, let's see. There is one question in the comments that's out of left field, kind of. KC, what's your thoughts on the new head of Australia's biggest scientific body being a believer in water divining?
Believer in water divining? What?
Yeah, water divining. I'm not sure what water divining is, but I can look it up real quick.
I mean,
Dowsing rods. Basically, do you know what that is?
no.
Okay, well, if you watch Ghost Hunters at all, it's basically where you hold two rods and then it points in the direction of water.
I see. Well, as long as he's not going to institute any policies based on this belief, I don't see any problems. I am reticent about having New Age woo believers and crazy conspiracy theorists and creationists in any level of government, especially in scientifically concentrated parts of the government. But uh, as long as it doesn't become a problem, I guess people could live with it.
Well, that kind of actually segues really nicely into another kind of set of questions. I didn't know if you'd want to get into them, but I can give it a try. How do you feel about Ted Cruz appropriating money for NASA?
I'm actually not familiar with this story. Could you let me in a little more on the background of it?
Yeah, Ted Cruz, he is a senator in.
I know who he is, but I don't know
Okay.
about this next thing that he's doing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, yeah, he basically is getting put ahead or put on the head of the appropriations committee for science and other things that would include NASA. So basically, he is the one that controls the money that funds NASA.
Ah, yeah, that makes me very uncomfortable.
It makes a lot of people uncomfortable, especially considering the fact that he thinks that only God can control the weather.
Yeah, uh, that's not okay. This guy needs to go. Uh, if from what I understand, the man is a creationist. Uh,
Yes.
you put a creationist in charge of the funds of NASA, he needs to fucking go. That's really all I can say.
Yeah, I think pretty much the majority of everybody feels that way. As far as Ted Cruz goes, he. It was really funny because prior to him getting put ahead of the appropriations committee, he was actually looking to cut funding from NASA. But of course, as soon as he takes it over, he's like, we're gonna spend shit and go to Mars. Is what he says. I feel like he's got that firmament to contend with first, but that's just me using logic and shit. Um, but how do you feel? Okay, sorry, I got thrown off. Have you seen the recent news about Rand Paul and him talking about allowing children not to vaccinate, or allowing parents to choose not to vaccinate, and like him purporting that as just being freedom?
Yeah, that definitely sounds like the sort of thing Rand Paul would say. And my response to that would be, uh, you have about as much. I think you should have about as much right to not vaccinate your child as you do to throw them in the middle of a busy highway during rush hour. Um, not only are you endangering your child, but you're endangering other people. Um, this measles outbreak, it's fucking ridiculous. Even if vaccines did cause autism, I mean, just some basic fucking game theory. Which is worse, autism or measles? I mean, it boggles the mind how fucking stupid some of these people can be.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a lot of anti-vaxxers are really trying to defend themselves with the idea that it's just their personal choice and that it only affects them, which I think is fucking ridiculous. Because, like you just said, I mean, you're not only endangering your child, but you're endangering a plethora of other people.
Yeah. It should be treated like any other epidemic. People who choose not to vaccinate their children, they should be isolated. They should be quarantined. Uh, I mean, if in order for society to actually be able to function properly, it helps to not have a fucking disease that kills like 5 gajillion people a day.
Yeah.
um,
Well,
and under such circumstances, quarantines can be declared. Martial law can be taken can take effect. I'd really like it not to come to that, but when it comes to people who refuse to vaccinate, uh, I don't really see much choice other than to temporarily suspend their rights.
yeah. I think that that you're spot on with that. I mean, just because I mean it's a danger to the general population. I mean, it's just I don't know. With me having a 5-year-old child, it really did anger both me and my wife because at first we were like, well, okay, people were getting infected with this measles strain or whatnot in the outbreak, and then of course we were hearing about the actual, we didn't really think about it at the time, but when it was brought to our attention about the people that were actually getting infected, it's not like they were grown ass adults. We were talking about children that are too young to get vaccinated, or they're too compromised, like their immune system is too compromised to actually get vaccinated. And so, I mean, I think it's just fucking horrible that you would sit there and think, oh yeah, it's a choice for me not to vaccinate my kid. Well, why
It's
don't you
like
go
saying
and
it's a choice
play?
for it's like saying it's a choice for me not to feed my kid. I mean, people who do this should be thrown into jail. I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, I know I hadn't thought of it in that way, but now that you say it, I mean, I completely agree with that because I mean, you're really depriving your child of the chance to actually, I guess, not get these horrible illnesses that have been defeated completely. But you get a blonde actress with big boobs to say, "Hey, it causes autism," and everybody believes her. But you know
Which
what?
actress? Which actress is that?
Jenny McCartney.
Ah, okay. I was thinking of the Big Bang Theory lady. She's not blonde, nor does she have big boobs.
Oh, I didn't realize she was anti-vax too.
Yeah, Sheldon's girlfriend, whoever plays her. The depressing
Oh,
thing is that the depressing thing is that she has a PhD in neuroscience. She should know better.
yeah. That I want to say I vaguely remember hearing that about her, and I was greatly displeased as well. Just because I knew that I knew prior that she had a PhD, and it's just like really you could be that stupid, but I guess you can be stupid about anything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, well, let's talk about your kind of discussion with Matt Slick. You had a live discussion with him some time ago on the Bible thumping wingnut what the fuck ever show,
Mhm.
where it's basically just Matt Slick acting like he's better than everybody else. You were on there and you had a discussion with him. I'm just wondering if you can comment on your feelings about that discussion.
Yeah. In in retrospect, it was technically a bait and switch. I was led to believe that we would be discussing science, and particularly Slick's refusal to accept the Big Bang Theory, the age of the universe, things like that. And I could, point to the scientific evidence. And instead, we got off onto this transcendental theological presuppositionalist bullshit. And I really try not to weigh in on philosophy because I have a pragmatic, empirical mindset, and if you're not willing to use the scientific method to establish a proposition, then I have no use talking to you. And he was very condescending too. He said I needed to study logic. This is coming from a sociology major, by the way, to a physics major. I need to study logic. Great. Fuck you too, Matt Slick. That's all I gotta say.
I felt that way during the entire time that you were on that show and Matt was talking to you. Like every time, and I believe it was that exact, or I don't know if it was that particular one, but I got this great screenshot of him just looking dumb as shit during it. Um, but
Oh, and my favorite part though was when he suggested that I approve of rape because I have a pragmatic worldview when it comes to epistemology. I mean, as though pragmatism in epistemology translates to pragmatism in morality. I wasn't even there to talk about morality. I was there to talk about how we know certain things to be true. and suddenly I support rape as a result. I mean, it was very immature and very annoying.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree, and it annoys me whenever they go that route too, because like if I remember correctly, his whole quote unquote logic behind that was that rape works, therefore it must be okay. And that is just the dumbest fucking logic that I've ever heard. Uh,
It works to what end, though? I was never really clear on that.
Well, if I understand correctly, and this is not only just my understanding from that exchange, but over the exposure that I've had to the argument in general, um, is that because rape will allow you to produce offspring, therefore it must be good because it works. Like because you can produce a child from rape, that means that it's just as good as like a consensual, loving relationship where you have a child.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, I
that's
love how you said yeah. Like yeah, that's dumb as fuck.
I mean, what can I comment on that? I mean, you can only meet that sort of comment with a blank stare. Uh, maybe calling someone to bring a straight jacket. I mean, it takes a special kind of stupid to believe this kind of shit.
Yeah.
To
Well,
even go
and
down that route. And I don't think he actually believes it. They always bring up rape or Hitler. Um, when discussing morality, those two will always come up. Uh, and they'll try to project the position that you approve of it onto you. But all I have to do is say, okay, let's say God appeared in front of you and commanded you to rape somebody. Would you do it? And then, of course, they're going to dance around the question saying, oh, God would never command that. But I digress.
well, yeah, I love how they exactly know how God would what questions God would ask. I mean, come on, the fucker asked a guy to kill his own son on top of a mountain in lieu of having a lamb. I don't think rape is out of the fucking question.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The foxhole atheist in the comment says a special kind of stupid, and he's laughing his ass off.
Where's this comment section? Is it in the YouTube page or
Yeah,
where's
yeah,
that?
it's
You
on
mind,
the. Huh?
you mind giving me the link? I'd like to maybe answer some questions if I happen to see any.
Okay. All right, I put it in the chat there on the right hand side.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. One of my friends, Kern, he actually posted a Bible quote, and this was kind of what I was going to go into next. Was nobody can know the mind of God, and it's 1 Corinthians 2:11. I feel that Matt Slick and his effort to
Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you. Foxhole Atheist just reminded me of how Matt Slick got into the whole "you approve of rape shit." Rape
okay.
shit. He says Casey explained how the idea for gravity came about, and Matt responded with, "So you approve of rape?" And I remember now. We were discussing how truth gets established, and I was talking about how Newton derived his model uh, of mechanics, and that led into the rape thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. And now he's asking, Casey, have you had any other encounters with the fundy on your campus that weren't filmed? Yeah, just recently he came and he was actually behaving himself, so I did not film him. We had a somewhat reasonable discussion. We could not agree on a pragmatic epistemology. His epistemology began with, I believe in God and my worldview makes sense as a result. Your worldview cannot make sense unless you believe in God. He accepted mathematical Platonism. He really loved the transcendental arguments, the moral argument, and even though I tried to explain, uh, why all of this is bullshit, he just kept on changing the subject like you saw in the video. At least this time, though, he wasn't being as much of a dick.
Yeah, I have to say I loved it when he was like, "This is a no f-bomb zone." Let's be mature about this though. uh, I was gonna say that I feel like Matt Slick and him kind of going from, oh, so you approve of gravity, that means you approve of rape as well. It goes back to the issue of being put on the same footing or the same level as religion. Because, just using a few verses out of the Bible, you can logically, and I mean like in a formal manner, because I've done this several times before, you can formally prove that God plans for like the rape and molestation of children. And of course, the religious, they always default to, or at least in the conversations I've had, they've defaulted to, well, no, rape is not good or anything. But, of course they say that God is good and he's good all the time or some shit.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just feel that it's a kind of him forcing this, forcing you onto a level playing field of him, or his beliefs and whatnot. Um, let's see. Staying on the topic of, like dipshits like Matt Slick. Um, has Ray Comfort ever responded to you, like at all in any kind of context?
No, he's been avoiding me like the plague. Blocked me on Facebook. Um, Blocked anyone who linked my video rebuttals to him. He just deletes and blocks. And I think the silence is deafening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember. See, there was one time he had a post that he had edited 4 times, and like going back to the original post, he worded it horribly. It insinuated something like, crap, I can't even remember. But anyways, he had edited like 4 times, and I said, "I see your edits, Ray." That's all I said, and I got blocked off of his Facebook page.
Yeah. He actually didn't block me because of anything that I said. He blocked me. Uh, his reason was because I was pretending to be a female, which I wasn't. Apparently, there was this girl who said that she was King Crocoduck while arguing with him, and it sort of became a clusterfuck. But without any evidence, he just decides, okay, I'm gonna block King Crocoduck rather than this girl. Uh, yeah, he's just a dick.
Yeah, well, I love. Have you seen the image where it's him and somebody called him a bibliophile, and he's like, "Don't you use words like that at me." And like the guy comes back with, Ray, that just means that you're that you
Oh,
like books.
bibliophile.
Yeah.
I remember that. Funny shit.
um,
I also like how he touts that his books and his movies are award-winning, even though the only people who give him the awards are Emil Zwane, who works with him, and Ken Ham.
oh, Ken Ham works with him. I didn't realize that.
Well, not exactly with him, but they have collaborated in the past. Ken Ham's trailer for his Ark Park, Ray used a lot of that imagery in his movie Noah and the Last Days, and at the end he advertised the Creation Museum. I guess as payment for that.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, now that I think back to it yeah, it really did seem familiar. Speaking of the art park, how do you feel about Ken Ham suing the state in order to get his 18 million back in tax breaks?
Uh, Good luck.
Yeah.
Best of luck to him. Waste even more time on attorneys and waste even more tax dollars having them try to defend themselves from this bullshit. Uh, I mean, I, I can't even like respond. I can't even articulate a response that's intelligent because like there's nothing intelligent about what I'm responding to. Uh, Yeah.
Well, what I like about his art park is the fact that, it's like he's building this big boat to prove that, I don't know what the fuck ever, but he's building this huge boat and it's supposed to be just like Noah's boat, right? But the motherfucker won't float because it's like built on land, like it's meant to be like just a shack on the fucking land. But yet this is supposed to model like Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
I have to say, I would love to see him fit even a minuscule amount of animals in there and be able to manage it for 40 days.
Yeah. Well, this time they're not going to have God's assistance. And if anything does go wrong, it's because the devil fucked shit up or some atheist infiltrated or whatever.
Yeah.
There's always a reason.
Yep. There is. So what do you let's see, what do you have planned for this year? Do you have anything planned in particular? I know that you're going to school, and you're really busy with that. But do you have like any plans on YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be making a series explaining quantum mechanics to lay people. Um, it's, uh, it's a pretty big project. I have about 7 scripts written already for some episodes that I'm going to do. And I want to finish writing all the scripts before I actually produce anything, because I want there to be some continuity. Uh, it's very difficult to learn quantum mechanics, but it's even more difficult to break it down to a lay audience in a way that's both meaningful, but also isn't overly complicated.
Well, that's really interesting. I'm really gonna love that particular series. Because I know I don't really have a very good grasp on quantum mechanics, but I would say that I probably know more than your average person. But I think to see you put it in your own words is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I
uh,
hope so.
well, do you have like any plans for any more of those equations?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it actually. Recently, Mortimer81 had this video debunking some free energy nonsense,
Mhm.
and really all you need to debunk the free energy bullshit is the second law of thermodynamics. And there's this one thing you probably know about the Carnot engine, the most efficient possible engine. And
Mm.
I'm thinking I could derive its efficiency using the second law of thermodynamics. And uh,
I think that actually, if I remember correctly, that came up in your in that encounter last summer, with that guy Tom. He was like, he was really condescending about it, being a dick, but he was like, "Do you know how the laws of thermodynamic works for an engine?" And you were just like, "Well, yeah, I do, of course. Shut the fuck up."
yeah, I mean, draw a fucking PV diagram. That's all you need.
Yeah. Um. So, is that what you're mainly going to be working on this year, as far as like YouTube goes? Working on that series on quantum mechanics.
Yeah, and I'd also like to get into debunking things other than creationism. I've been considering for a long time now to be debunking 9/11 truthers, making a series called Why Do People Laugh at 9/11 Truthers? But I'm not entirely sure if I'm ready to commit to that. Uh, I think I want to expand my horizons a little more before I go there.
Hmm.
But at some point in the future, it probably will happen. Um, I'd also like to get into debunking some woo, like like spirit science, except that's Mortimer's thing. I have to find a different punching bag.
Okay, that'd be interesting. I know me personally on my channel, I'm trying to keep up with two popular, or well, okay, they're popular to me. um, Series. One is questioning the existence of Jesus, and the other one is logical fallacies. Like I'm explaining logical fallacies, giving good examples that are relative, and then also taking like real life instances of them happening and explaining why they're fallacies, and the various fallacies that you could consider them to be. Um, so
Non-theist, non-theist David is telling me to debunk the principle. Maybe, I don't know. I think that's something that cool hard logic would be uh, better suited to doing. He likes to do that sort of thing.
well, yeah, I don't know. Is it the principle is dealing with the idea of a geocentric universe.
Yep, yep, that's the one.
I I don't know. Like if somebody came to me and was like, yeah, the universe is geocentric, I wouldn't have a response to him, because it's just like, are you really?
Yeah.
I mean, given that we can actually go out and experience, and we have like flung satellites out into the universe, using the assumption that it's not geocentric, and shit's gone correctly.
Well,
I mean,
people like that are just irreparably fucked in the head. What can you do?
yeah.
You know, while I actually have my Google Drive open, how about I give you guys an exclusive sneak peek at what the videos of quantum mechanics are going to be about, each individual one and the topics and whatnot.
That'd be cool.
Okay. So first of all, there's going to be an introduction, uh, talking about what quantum mechanics is, why it's important, and why it makes no intuitive sense. Um, there are actually reasons for that, mathematical reasons, and I wanna go over them. Uh, Next video we'll be talking about the duality of light and electromagnetic waves. This will be talking about, for example, how we know the wave nature of light based on the Thomson experiment and interference and diffraction, but we also know the particle nature of light based on things like Thomson scattering and the photoelectric effect. So that's what that video will be dedicated to. The video after will be about the duality of subatomic particles, and in this one, I'll be introducing the concept of the de Broglie wavelength and explaining how also these things we traditionally think of as particles, like electrons, they interfere, which is an explicitly wave-like behavior. Uh, from there, I'm going to go either into atomic structure or the Schrodinger equation, probably the Schrodinger equation first, explaining what a wave function is, what a state is, uh, and just going into what the generalized statistical interpretation of quantum mechanics says. How, like, you can't actually, uh, if in classical mechanics you poke a stick, something is going to poke back, and you can make, actual deterministic measurements. Whereas in quantum mechanics, the best you can do is get a distribution of probabilities as to where the stick is going to poke, how hard it's going to poke, things like that. Uh, and after that, I'll get into atomic structure and go into things like the quantum numbers, what they mean, what they do. Uh, Spin will be very important, uh, the Stern-Gerlach experiment, stuff like that. After that, it'll be the quantum uncertainty principle. Um, I may or may not do a derivation of that in the future, actually, one complete with curse words, because there's actually a very elegant derivation that shows where the Heisenberg uncertainty principle comes from, and how it can actually be generalized to a lot of different things. And after that, there's going to be an addendum where I discuss miscellaneous topics like the Einstein-Polonsky-Rosen paradox, Bell's inequalities, and the various interpretations of quantum theory. So hopefully that'll pique people's interests. Again, I want to go into something that's a little deeper than what you might get on like a BBC documentary. There will be some very basic math, some very basic physics, things that I hope everybody will be able to go along with. But at the same time, it won't be so complicated that people won't understand what the hell is going on.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I'm very interested in just learning that kind of general scientific knowledge in general. I know I've spent hours just watching various videos on YouTube about that particular subject. So I'm very interested in seeing your presentation of it. Um, uh, I don't mean to be too forward with this, but do you have uh, do you have any plans to maybe do like a Patreon to like for the series or anything like that?
I don't know. I haven't made a single dime during my time here on YouTube, and I'm not sure how my subscribers would react to the idea of me having a Patreon. Um, I don't think personally there's anything wrong with that, but I don't want people to get the impression that I'm a sellout or something. So I don't know. It's not something I've really thought that much about.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know about how other people feel, but as far as those types of videos go or whatnot, I would more than support or support you, I guess, in that sense. Other than of course, watching the videos and promoting them on my various media outlets. Um, but if you do, just I'll say that at least I'm interested in helping you out with that. Um, so,
It's very nice of you.
well, I think that your videos are very, very well informed and put together, and so yeah, that's pretty much just how I feel about it. To kind of close out, changing subjects just to talk about a few new events to see how you feel about them. Have you heard about the app that is supposed to track students' attendance in college classes?
Sorry, what?
There's an app that's being put out right now where parents can track a student's attendance in their college classes.
Hmm,
I
that's
would,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, um, to anybody who actually needs such an app, unless they're some kind of disability going, I'd say they don't belong in a university. If you're not willing to take the responsibility that comes with a higher level education, um, you know, you shouldn't be there. Uh, when you go to college, you can't just fuck around and skip lectures willy nilly. I mean, you could do it every now and then. I certainly do, but I mean, if you don't take it seriously, there are other people who don't have that opportunity who would be willing to take it seriously, and you're just taking their place. That would be my opinion on that.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, when I first heard about this, my opinion was that well, exactly when do you cut the umbilical cord? Because it just seems to me like having a parent micromanage their college student is just a little too far-reaching, I guess. But then again, I guess I come from a kind of a skewed background because I didn't have my parents' money that got me through the bulk of my school. The bulk of my school I either did through loans or I worked with my job and they paid for me to go to school. And in exchange for me, of course, working for them and staying on with them for a certain amount of time afterwards. Um,
I'm
and,
actually pretty fortunate, I think. I don't have to deal with a lot of the struggles that my peers do. I don't really need a part-time job because a lot of my school is paid with scholarships, and whatever loans I do have, they're they're trivial. They're not going to be with me for more than 5 years, I think.
that's good.
Yeah.
Because mine's gonna be up my ass for the next 10 years.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, There's been a recent initiative that's being pushed by Obama to make the first 2 years of community college free. I was kind of wondering if you had any certain opinion about that.
Sorry, my mic got cut off in the middle of what you just said. Could you repeat that?
President Obama, he's really pushing this initiative to make the first 2 years of community college free.
Mhm.
I was just wondering what your opinion is on that.
I think that's great. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Uh, the only caveat should be in order to, have sort of a balance, make sure classes don't get too big, is to add in the caveat that you have to get good grades in order to be able to stay in. Nobody gets to ride for free, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the same, I guess, kind of logic that's used in, I mean, scholarships. Because if you want to really think about this as everybody just gets a default scholarship to to a community college for 2 years to get them started in their college career. They a lot. I can't think of a single scholarship that would allow you to get Fs and still get the scholarship. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's a very good
Well, maybe
point.
maybe if you're going to like Liberty or Bob Jones University.
Oh man, yeah.
I
The
was just
the
having an argument actually with a geneticist, or actually a genetics major from Bob Jones University, and when he told me that his degree in genetics was from Bob Jones University, I could already tell that a lot of the shit he was saying was complete bullshit. But um, I told him I actually almost feel bad about this, but what I said verbatim was, I wouldn't dignify your diploma by using it as toilet paper. And that was probably a little mean, but he was
no,
being
no,
a, he
not
was
at
being a
all.
he was being a dick, so I kind of just threw it out there.
I see in the chat there that you say that you're only 20 years old. I mean, I have to say that I mean, as far as what you've done on YouTube and just your general level of intelligence, you've really accomplished a lot. Before you can even drink beer legally. I'm just kind of curious. I guess this is more for me at this point. Like what really got people interested in your videos, or what do you think got people interested in your videos?
Uh, I'm not sure, to be honest. I guess they just like what I say, and they like the fact that I present it clearly. Um, I never tried to release a bullshit video, except when it's like a shout out or something. That doesn't really take that much effort to make. But when it comes to debunking something or explaining something, I like to be very thorough, and I think people appreciate that. People, I hope people learn a lot from my channel. Uh, I actually get occasionally a message saying that I inspired somebody to go into the sciences, to go to university and um, learn physics or chemistry or biology or whatever. Um, I'm always amazed that anybody could be inspired to do that. I really don't have any kind of response uh, that does justice how pleased I am that I'm actually able to make this kind of change.
Sorry, finite says, dude, stop being so modest. You're awesome.
Well, I know I'm awesome. That's not really a point of contention here. I'm just I'm just saying I'm just saying like I don't know. Uh, it's a little dizzying to know that there are 22,000 people following me. Um, I I'm not really sure what to make of it, other than to just keep going.
Keep going, like, with the
Keep making videos, keep doing what I'm doing. I'm obviously
yeah.
doing something right, so I might as well continue.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And like I said, I can't wait for you to come out with your quantum mechanics videos. Um, uh,
Oh, I actually forgot to mention, after those core subjects are finished, I'm going to also make videos, part of the same series, but sort of branching out, that explain other aspects of physics that are based on quantum and sort of condensing it for a lay audience. One is going to be on molecules and condensed matter. One is going to be on nuclear physics, and another one's going to be on my personal favorite, particle physics. Uh, so, yeah, just throwing that out there. That's also going to be part of the Quantum Mechanics Made Easy series.
oh, nice. Again, I mean, just you keep saying things and they keep sounding awesome. Well, and I mean, even if you can tell by the chat, if you're watching that, I mean, everybody thinks that you're just awesome for your age and just your level of knowledge on all of these subjects. Do you feel like in researching these subjects and presenting these videos that you yourself really come to a better understanding of them, or
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. This making videos on physics in particular really solidifies my understanding, especially when subscribers come on and correct me on things, on mistakes I might make, especially in other fields. Uh, Occasionally, I'll make an embarrassing mistake in physics, uh, but sometimes I really make really shitty mistakes in biology or geology. Uh, just recently, actually, I made a very shitty mistake on the my commentary of Megan Fox at the museum, and I learned something. Um, I learned not to come to conclusions in peer-reviewed articles unless or until I consult with experts in that field if it's not my field.
mm. What mistake did you make in the Megan Fox
I
deal?
said, so I cited a paper that showed that there is a certain amount of variation in human versus human genotypes, human versus chimp genotypes, and human versus Neanderthal genotypes. And the y-axis of the graph that I was referring to made it seem, or from my perspective, it looked like there was a greater percentage of difference between humans and Neanderthals than there was between humans and chimpanzees. And what I inferred from that was that humans and chimpanzees, percentage-wise, have more in common than humans and Neanderthals. And this was actually incorrect because the y-axis of that graph had nothing to do with the actual genes and everything to do with statistics. And because I'm not an expert in this field, I didn't know that, and I naively assumed that when it was talking about percentages, it was actually talking about the percentages of the genes rather than some vague statistical calculations. And it was actually the x-axis I should have gone off of, and the x-axis showed the complete opposite. So basically, my mistake was saying that humans and chimpanzees have more in common than humans and Neanderthals. That was wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I've just to kind of relate to you on this matter. I remember making kind of a big mistake in one of my videos where I said that there have been no anti-homosexual laws, like explicit anti-homosexual laws, because my field is engineering and kind of systems engineering, and so like when I read these laws, I read them at a very verbatim level, I guess. And so, like as you read them, like if you go by how they're written, they're not written to indicate like that they are anti-homosexual or anything, because it can be applied to the entire population. But the one thing that I didn't know about it, and just like you, I mean, I consulted an expert in the field about it before I even began to think about correcting myself officially. Um, what I did was, what it is that how a law isn't enforced, it actually affects the nature of the law. So,
Hmm.
like you could have a law that's written in a very general manner, but if it is only used to target one specific group, then it by itself becomes a discriminatory law. And so, like in this case, it would be anti-homosexual if they only applied it to, homosexuals, basically. So, I mean, yeah, I've been in the same position as you before, just I guess in a different context.
Yeah.
um, but I know that we're coming up on an hour and a half here. Is there anything else that you would like to let people know about you or about your channel or anything like that?
Let me think about that. Well, the fucking fundamentalist fucker series is done. Hopefully everybody can accept that. That wasn't the direction I wanted to go in. Let's see. Arrogance of Creationism series is done. Eric Hovind commentaries are done. Kent Hovind is getting out of prison this year, so I have a little something special planned for him. Sort of a welcoming gift back into society, as it were. And I don't know. I don't have much else to add. Does anyone have any questions about my channel or, I don't know, physics or anything?
Let's see. I know Foxhole. He asked. He cut out a portion of your first encounter with that street preacher at your school, and it was the derivation, that first derivation you did, where you laid it out while cursing up a storm, basically, in order to show that cursing doesn't indicate a lack of intelligence. He asked, if you forgive him for cutting that out and putting it on his own channel.
There's nothing to forgive, guys. You can take whatever part of anything that I ever do and put it anywhere for free. It's not like I make any money off of these videos anyway. Just cut and paste, use them however the hell you want. You don't need my permission.
Awesome.
Oh, I also want to clarify. I am not Venom Fang X. Okay?
Yeah.
I am not motherfucking Venom Fang X. Please stop asking me that. Especially in the beginning, people, when I had like under 1,000 subscribers, people were saying, it's Venom Fang X, he's trying to infiltrate us. Although one of these days I might prank call the Atheist Experience and pretend to be Venom Fang X and be like, Matt, you and I have something in common. We both hate Thunderfoot. Let's team up. Shit like that. I don't know.
that would be pretty good. I had no idea people thought that you were Venom Fang X. I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, we have a similar voice, I guess.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I detect less condescension with you. I don't know if maybe I'm just not hearing it or what, but when I hear Venom Fang X, I just really want to like slap him in the face with a dildo.
Yeah.
Yeah, finite is verifying that you are indeed not Venom.
Yes, Finite has spoken with me face to face, and yeah, he can verify that I'm not Venom. Non-theist David is asking, what is the best layman's book on quantum mechanics that I've read? The answer is absolutely Small by Michael D. Fair. It's very dense. It may be difficult for someone who hasn't had, like, I don't know, prior layperson's readings in quantum mechanics, but it's very succinct and I really like it.
So, does anybody have any more questions?
Especially physics questions. I love getting physics questions, though I can't guarantee that I'll have an answer because there's some shit that none of us know about.
It looks like Finite is saying that you're handsomer than him.
I agree.
Yeah. I have to say that I would think that you rock a bow tie a whole lot better than Venom Fang X could ever.
I certainly hope so. Okay, Foxwell is asking me if I like or no like the multiverse. My answer is I don't know. I'm not at that physics level yet. I'll get back to you in a couple of years when I'm like really neck deep in graduate school. White holes, are they a thing? Hmm. Well, let me think about that. White holes, are they a thing? Uh, I have some perverted jokes coming to mind, but
Yeah, that's where my mind went first too. I was like, well.
I mean, I would give you a perverted joke, but only in lieu of the fact that I don't have an answer to that. The truth is, I don't know.
Okay, I don't know if you saw it, but Finite wants you to explain the universe from nothing on the spot.
The book or the concept? Because the idea is if the universe has zero net energy, then a quantum fluctuation uh, can allow the universe to spontaneously come out of nothing, and at some point, in accordance with the time energy uncertainty principle, it is going to pop back into nothing. Yeah. The Godless Geezer is asking me to recommend a resource on mastering tensor equations. Um, I would say Mathematical Methods in the Physical Sciences by Mary Boas. I believe it's chapter 10 of that book. Uh, she actually has a lot of excellent different types of maths in that book. I would definitely recommend it. Um, Kieran Gill is asking if I'm familiar with the many worlds interpretation. Yes, but I don't deal with quantum mechanics interpretations. I know about them, but I don't actually subscribe to any of them. I don't really care about the philosophical aspects. I just care about the data and if it has predictive capabilities. Non-theist David asks, have you read any Victor Stenger books? Yes, and I was very sad when I heard that he died. He was a good guy. He was a very rare combination of physicist and philosopher. Uh, and I read God and the Folly of Faith and God the Failed Hypothesis, and I greatly enjoyed both, and I highly recommend them.
Um, let's see. Traveler Finder wants to know what drew you to physics to begin with.
Some friends of mine were just reading Cosmos, and I borrowed it from them, and I got hooked. So yeah, Carl Sagan.
Yeah, I think probably Traveler joined us late because I know that we kind of talked about that in the very early part of the show when there wasn't a lot of people.
That's all right.
Yeah. Did you want to comment on whether or not you think the atheist movement's going anywhere?
Well, I think we have helped accomplish a few good things. I think that we have, we are partly responsible for Obama's reelection. I read on a poll somewhere that a pretty significant percentage of the voters who voted for Obama were the nuns. They were in the nun category for religion. So I think that's we definitely do have some sort of effect nowadays. Let's see. Casey, what do you think about the planets they have found recently that can support life on them similar to Earth? By Fiction Fighter. I wouldn't be surprised in a universe with jillions and jillions of stars. I'm sure somewhere out there there's one with a planet that has life on it.
What do you that kind of leads me into or it makes me think about that article in the Washington Post that says that science is ever so proving that God exists because of the dwindling amount of planets that can sustain life or something like that.
I would refer them to my video, My Flavor of Atheism. Um, you know, this God who's obsessed with circumcision is the same God that's supposed to have created the the entire universe. It's nonsense. I don't see I don't see anyone when they see things in perspective can still believe in a personal God.
Yeah. I don't understand that either. Cause you really like just stating that he's a personal god, kind of has a lot of implications that are built into it, especially when you start speaking on matters of like morality and this whole idea about free will. Um, and sorry to get back on track of that Washington Post article. Damian Farr in the comments he points out that Lawrence Krauss did a pretty good takedown of the article, and I have to agree. I read Krauss's response, and if there was ever a big another person to give a big finger in the shape of science, other than you, I would have to say it would be Lawrence Krauss's response to that article.
Yeah. Do not fuck with physics. We will bite back.
Yeah. I always like I always like to point out that reality doesn't give a fuck what you believe. Reality is gonna do its thing no matter what, and a lot of creationists and fundamentalists that they like to try to make reality fit around them, but of course it never works.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I like to think that God would be like that galaxy thing from Futurama.
just sitting out there, and then he's just like, huh, what? Oh.
Just chatting with Bender.
Yeah. It's like, if you're good enough, then they won't know you did anything at all. It's like, well, fuck, that is God. Let's see, Foxhole. He asks, what is the likelihood that aliens would be benevolent? Would
I have
passing
no idea. I'm sorry. I'm reading this question. I have no idea. You're gonna have to ask an astrobiologist and maybe one who knows a thing or two about neuroscience. I am definitely not the person to ask that question.
Going back up in the chat, Finite Atticus, he says, to what do you attribute the popularity of Megan Fox's video? I still don't understand it.
Well,
I'm
the
right
fact
there
that
with you.
Megan Fox is in the title, people are assuming that it's that girl from Transformers. Um, and I don't know, maybe I would like to think that people are stunned by her stupidity and they're just sharing it on their social media saying, look at this crazy bitch. But I have a feeling that some of them are calling him a genius like they do with Feuerstein.
Yeah. I hate both of those imbeciles. I actually got Megan Fox to block me from her Facebook page, which is a little surprising because I don't know if you've ever been onto her Facebook page, but what she has enabled on it is where she has to approve comments, right?
Hmm.
So what you end up seeing is like you'll see that there are 65 comments on the post, but you can only see like your friends' comments, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then um, and so I actually made a video. I guess it was one of my compilations of her just sounding like a fucking moron, but I made a compilation of her and I posted it onto one of her posts. And no shit, like I was banned like the very next minute. So I feel pretty good that I had that kind of reaction because she could have just left it alone, but she actually felt the need to ban me from her page.
And I actually want to emphasize that this is one of the main differences between us and our opposition. We can take criticism. Um, to this day, the only comments I've ever deleted are the ones that disabled replies, because those get in the way of free speech.
Yeah.
You just vomit on the middle of my comment section, and you make it so that nobody else can clean it up. So, also the only person or the only people I've ever blocked have been spammers. I don't care how vile or filthy or stupid a comment is. I'm gonna let it stay up there and leave my subscribers to eviscerate it. The way I see it, those who allow for free speech are generally more trustworthy.
Yeah, I would say so too. I know in general on my page, unless someone is, if someone's not really contributing to the conversation and they're just being assholes, like to me or other people, at that point, I'll usually block them from the page or something like that. But I'm guessing that you wouldn't agree with that tactic.
I mean, you do whatever you want as long as you're not like silencing legitimate arguments. But I like to leave up filthy comments, just so people can see how morally bankrupt the other side is, or at the very least that they're no better than we are. There's this one guy called Bible Bill. He said, "I hope you and everyone you love gets leukemia," and you know, he got a bunch of responses to that. A bunch of my subscribers went on to eviscerate him and point out his hypocrisy. I think that's more healthy than just blocking him. That's just me.
Well, I guess I should maybe clarify what I said, because it's not generally those type of comments. The those ones are the I leave those up. It's the ones that try to correct you, but they're really big assholes about it. Um, it's like they can't have a normal conversation, and they're just there to either emotionally abuse me or other people on the page. And so I guess I feel like it's I shouldn't allow somebody to attack people on my page or whatnot when they could have a rational discussion about it. I guess it's more like, if you want to have a rational discussion, feel free. But if all you're gonna do is try to emotionally harass other people on there, I guess I just don't feel like you should be allowed to do that. But that's the only times that I really block somebody. If you just spout a whole bunch of nonsense or stupidity, like if somebody put, "Oh, you should die of cancer," which I've actually had plenty of people. Like there's one guy on my page that says that said that my mom should have choiced me out of life. Pastafarian Gamer says, "John, you're wrong. I'm correcting you." But no, on my page, that one guy says that my mom should have choiced me out of life. Basically, I should have been aborted, and I left that one up. So I mean, it's only when they obviously are just there to hurt people that I don't allow them. But it's like you said, it's just differences in how we handle it.
I try not to take those kind of comments too seriously.
Yeah, I guess maybe that kind of plays in my own background a little bit, because I take, I've had some emotional abuse in the past, and I'm working through it. It's just, especially when I started my page, it it really opened me up to a lot of those kind of harsh criticisms, and I've grown a lot since then. And I guess past me would have maybe banned those types of comments, but I'm getting even more increasingly to where I'm just like, it's not bothering me. So hopefully I'll get to the point of your level of calmness, because I know before the interview we talked about Matt Slick's interview, or Matt Slick's conversation. You said that you were pretty furious during it because of how condescending he was, and I have to say I really admire your restraint that you showed in it.
Yeah. It's a hard-learned lesson. Uh, it's not easy. You just you just have to recognize that some people, it's just healthier not to take them seriously.
I don't, let's see, Finite Atticus. I don't take creationists seriously when they comment on my vids. They don't want answers, so why bother? I would have to say that I agree with Finite on this. Uh, just
I
because.
hmm.
Go ahead.
I like to eviscerate them just for the lulz. I don't care if they believe me or not. I'm demonstrating for my subscribers the proper way to take creationist crap and stuff it back up their asses.
Well, just to kind of give an anecdotal connection to this, I guess. There was one time a girl commented on my video asking, well, if God didn't create the universe, then how, or didn't create the earth, then how did it come to be? And I shit you not, I wrote a good, like, 2 paragraphs, like, explaining how the earth, like, came to be formed, like, as I understood it. And I spent probably a good 5 minutes writing this out, making sure that I was correct, double checking my facts and whatnot. And then she just comes back with, ha 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 ha, you're wrong, God did it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those. Uh, you can go onto one of my videos and look at my comment exchanges with some of these creationists, and they'll span like a lot of lines. I don't even know how many. Sometimes it takes me like 20 or 30 minutes to write a comment, and they'll just come back with the most inane bullshit, and eventually one of us runs out of patience. But I feel you, bro.
Yeah. Let's see. The Godless Geezer says, I tell creationists that I don't debate creationism, just as I don't debate the existence of the Easter Bunny, and for the same reasons.
Well, I don't think that when it comes to creationism, debating is an option. I think the only viable option is eviscerating. Um, it's not, creationism isn't just a difference of emphasis on some points. You're fundamentally disagreeing about the epistemology of science, and this is not something that you can compromise on. You just have to show them they're full of shit and be uncompromising in that effect.
Let's see. Ken P. He says, what do you think of perpetual recurrence? Does it apply to physics?
I don't know what perpetual recurrence is.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that either. Oh, eternal recurrence.
Yeah, not sure what that is.
Still don't know. I do. I did notice that you had listed a Facebook page, but it seems to have been removed. Uh, is there any reason why you removed it? Like, did you just not feel like you had time to deal with Facebook shit?
Not exactly. Someone reported me to the real name police, and Facebook wouldn't allow me to log in unless I showed them, uh, whatchamacallit, until I showed them my ID. And, you know, my ID doesn't actually say King Crocoduck on it. That's not what my parents called me.
Oh, really? They didn't. You weren't born. They're like, oh, it's the king.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I actually had to scan my passport in and get them to unlock my account because they will, even if your name looks like it doesn't have a real name on it, then they'll flag it and they'll make you actually prove your name, and they actually lock your name down after that
Okay.
to where you
Yeah.
can't change it. I don't know why
Yeah.
Facebook has to act like it's such a serious platform. That's how they're treating it. They're treating it like, oh yeah, this is Facebook, bitch. you got to use your real name. Oh yeah, and give us your address so all your stalkers know exactly where the fuck you are.
Yeah. That's some bullshit. So does anyone have any physics-related questions or any questions related to me or any questions about anything? Anything at all? Oh, Ken is talking about Nietzsche his idea of eternal recurrence, where time repeats itself in multiple universes. Um, well, if you accept the big crunch model, not many people do anymore, but if you accept that, then yeah, I guess there's some physical application there. But the big crunch model has fallen out of favor ever since we discovered that the universe is mostly spatially flat.
Yeah, I remember a talk that Lawrence Krauss did that I've watched several times, where he explains why, the most probable thing is that it's flat and not curved or whatnot, and we don't expect a big crunch to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think it has to relate, and correct me if I'm wrong, Casey, but I think it has to do with the fact that we're actually speeding up instead of slowing down.
hmm yeah, the distribution of stuff in the universe, the density of the cosmological constant, the density of mass, and the density of radiation, um, along with the metric that our universe runs by, the Robertson-Walker metric, it's called. Um, all of this combined together tells us that the universe is going to just continue expanding and accelerating, essentially without any limit. Contraction will occur if there is enough mass in the universe, but the mass density of the universe is too low for contraction to actually occur. Uh, and yeah, that's pretty much all I can say on that topic. We know the universe is flat because the metric takes form of a Euclidean metric. Um, that is to say, well, mathematically, you could represent it by saying ds squared is equal to dx squared plus dy squared plus dz squared. Or actually, that's technically not true because then you also have minus c squared dt squared. And there you have the Minkowski metric. But what this tells you is that there is three-dimensional flatness. There's no actual curvature at extremely large scales. As a result of that, things are just going to continue expanding.
Here, I've got kind of a physics question, I guess, before we get to Fiction Fighter's question. Do you have a favorite, like, current scientist or physicist that you kind of, I guess, hold at the top or whatnot?
Well, I do have a favorite physicist, but he's not alive anymore. Paul Dirac. I think he was a boss. And you know what? I would go as far as to say that he was the only person who actually understood quantum mechanics. People like Richard Feynman say, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand it well enough. I think Dirac actually did understand quantum mechanics intuitively. He was crazy enough, and I respect the hell out of him. I mean, he basically invented the language in which we discuss quantum mechanics, Brockhet notation. And this is the most natural way to describe quantum mechanics. And maybe it's because Dirac was so crazy that he actually was able to understand all this crazy shit at an intuitive level, almost. Einstein once said of him that Dirac was the most dizzying combination of brilliance and madness that he'd ever seen. So yeah, I like Dirac.
Let's see. Fiction Fighter was asking, what are some of your long-term goals in life?
Well, once I get my undergraduate degree, I'm going to move on to graduate school, where I'm going to try to specialize in particle physics and cosmology, and especially where they overlap. And from there, I'd like to do research, maybe do some teaching in college at the side, maybe appear in a documentary or two, and I guess operate in the same capacity that Lawrence Krauss operates.
Okay, let's see. Foxhole came up with a couple more comments. Um, one, comets, mostly rock or mostly ice?
Depends on the comet. Could be either.
What, in your mind, is the best route so far to explore for faster than light travel?
Um, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yep.
You can't go faster than light. Although if you did warp space-time, oh, that's his next comment. For example, will NASA's warp design based on bending space-time work? It'd be cool if it did. Shit, I'd be down for that. Uh, but yeah, that's the only way I could conceive of, and even then, you wouldn't technically be violating um, special relativity. Fiction Fighter is now asking, oh, and who's your favorite human alive right now? Um, shit, tough one. It's a very difficult one. I don't know if it's Jennifer Lawrence or Emma Watson. It's a very difficult decision for me to make. One of the two. I'll have to get back to you on that.
He's doing more research later after this interview.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pastafarian called me out on missing a question from him about um, uh, why is Michael Shears so awesome or something like that. I'm not sure who that is.
Some psychologist. I don't know. I don't know much about him.
Okay, yeah, I don't either. um, are there any more physics questions or any more questions about KC here?
Any at all. I'm open to answering any question that I happen to know the answer to.
Well, I got one that kind of combines the two, like religion and whatnot, religion and physics. Why does it seem like creationists like to try to blend like the Big Bang theory with whatever happened before the universe began, or whatever caused the Big Bang or whatnot? I mean, it just seems like they do a pretty big jump from like evolution to the Big Bang, and then, well, what happened before the Big Bang, and it just seems like they're discussing very different topics, you know?
Yeah, there's a psychological need for closure. Nobody knows what happened before the Big Bang. Sloppy language when you actually think about it, but uh, we don't know why the universe went bang. We're trying to figure it out, and we probably are not going to know for a very long time. But people don't like that answer. People want closure. Uh, it's just the way we're wired.
Yeah. Is there any certain hypothesis or leading theory right now that you kind of favor for explaining, like, prior to the Big Bang?
Well, I do like Krauss's universe from nothing, or as Hawking would call it, the zero energy hypothesis. But we'll need more accurate data, because right now the indication is that the universe isn't perfectly flat, but it's slightly, just a little tiny bit open. And this is actually called a de Sitter geometry, and it has some very different consequences from a flat universe. But the proximity of these cosmological parameters to perfect flatness, I think, is very compelling. So I would probably put my money on the zero energy hypothesis.
Yeah, I actually like that one too. That's or at least that's the one that makes the most sense to me, logically and whatnot.
Mm.
Um, that I found at least. Let's see. Ken P is asking, anyone you'd like to debate, or are you not into that?
I would really like to debate Hovind.
From
Um,
debate Hovind from Jail Cell. Let's see.
Either one, I don't care. The father or the spawn, it doesn't matter. I'll fuck either of them up on the topic of science.
Oh, Speaking of his spawn, I did kind of a response video to this, but where Little Hovind went into a Taco Bell and he was telling people how they can have evangelizing using cashiers and shit. Did you see that?
No, what happened?
Okay, basically this douchebag is standing in line waiting to order, right? And of course he orders the cheapest thing on the menu because he's making a point on video. And he's not like he thought of it afterwards. But anyways, he's standing there in line and he's like, "Did you know that you can have cashiers witness for you?" And like at Taco Bell, you have to give your name. Like, and they call it out. It's a way for them to, I guess, be a little bit more personal with their customers. And so what this douchebag does is he says, when they ask, "Okay, what's your name?" he goes, "Jesus Christ is Lord." And
Oh, so
so,
they call out Jesus Christ is Lord when... Yeah, I see. Well, way to be a dick. How would he feel if somebody did the same thing except they said there's only one God and Muhammad is his prophet?
yeah, the quote unquote response video that I did to that was I was in my car and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna teach you how to not be a dick." And so it was basically just a cutaway to me in line, and they're like, "All right, what's your name?" "John." And then I get my meal. It's like, and then I get back in my car, and I'm like, "See, that's how a normal fucking person acts." um, Let's see. Foxhole, he's asking, can he explain some of the implications of a slightly non-flat universe?
Um, yeah, everything rips. Um, Eventually, the universe is just gonna rip everything apart, as opposed to simply freezing everything in heat death with the entropy reaching its maximum value. That's what happens in a flat universe, but in an open universe, things get ripped. Um, Another implication is that you have the possibility for some really wacky origins of the universe. I know, whatchamacallit, that Sean Carroll, he actually came to my university recently to give a little talk, and he was talking about some of the possibilities of tunneling from another universe into this one, and that's why it's slightly open. Uh, but there's not much there's not much else I can say on the topic.
Kern is asking if you've ever made any parodies of Josh Fuckerstein.
No, I've been part of Armored Skeptics, giant shout out thing, but beyond that, no. Non-theist David is asking me if I'm a mathematical Platonist. The answer is absolutely not. Uh, I'm completely on board with Anti-Citizen X on this point. Math is something we invented. It's useful as fuck, don't get me wrong, but it's not some trans-dimensional shit.
I was unsure what he meant by that question. So is the mathematical Platonist does that mean that mathematics is transcendental somehow?
Yeah, and I don't believe that.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, every time I hear the word transcendental, I just think of Matt Slick and I want to punch a wall.
Ken is asking, is it possible for a dark hole, I'm guessing he means black hole, to reach critical density and explode into Big Bang? Shit, homie, that's too deep for me. I don't know. I honestly do not know. I know some people believe that. I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I know that Hawking actually proposed a hypothesis that the universe was all contained in like a pinpoint that's like super condensed matter, and then that is what exploded and spread everything out. Um, but I don't know the finer points behind it. So
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I'm just gonna stay on board with zero energy until it's proven wrong.
yeah. How do you let me ask you this? How do you feel about Fuckerstein in general? Like
There's not much to say. He's just an idiot. He's a particularly arrogant idiot who's oblivious to his own idiocy, but uh, that's pretty much all that can be said, I think. He's too easy to debunk. That's why I never went ahead and did it. Uh, I mean, some people say that I pick at low-hanging fruit, but this guy, he's a fucking vegetable buried underground. If you want to extend.
Wait, okay. Did you just very intelligently call him a potato?
Sure, why not?
I know I've made several responses to him, but I don't know. Most of mine though were done like while drunk, because I felt like a handicap was needed for me to be even in the same ballpark, uh, you know, you know, as him, I guess. Uh, I mean, the last one I did of him, I wasn't drunk, and I did it without a script or anything like that, so it was just pretty much off the top of my head, easy to debunk. But I've really stopped doing anything about him because his parents. This is a sad thing. His parents are like in top spots at the Mayo Clinic, like the top cancer research, and
Ugh.
he's a fucking idiot out there, talking about how evolution isn't fact or some shit like that. But yet his parents are like medical doctors at a top rated cancer research institute hospital, you know, and like
Did they just own him, or have they released any statements about their son's behavior?
oh no. They haven't said anything. I mean, they've even happily appeared like on his Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So I can only assume that they fully support what he's doing. Of course, his dad has been a pretty big contributor to Joshua's various ministries, and I mean various ministries. He's had at least 2 failed ministries before his Facebook went popular.
Yeah, if you don't have any talent, if you don't have any skills, just set up a ministry and you'll start raking in cash from stupid, hardworking people.
Yeah. Yeah, Curran says no. He's the son of Fred Durst and a potato. Um, well, the Godless Geezer, would you like to debate Nephilim free?
I already had a conversation with him once. It was one of my earliest videos, and I have no intention of ever speaking with him again. I, just no. No.
Yeah, I've when I was kind of looking up videos about you and really getting a lot more acquainted. Um, he I noticed that you did have like I guess it was like a 2 hour long conversation
Hmm.
with him, and I didn't sit through it honestly, but I did see I guess it's your rebuttal to his it was a video about uh, self-replicating proteins or something like that.
Hmm.
He spouted off how evolution is not fact and it's a religion or some shit. Um, and you pretty much ripped his whole argument apart in your video.
Yeah, I tend to do that.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that's just like a Saturday night. um, Kern is talking about Fuckerstein again. He says he raised $20,000 for a camera and still films exclusively from his iPhone.
Yeah. Uh,
Which,
pretty sure that those $20,000 might have something to do with like the 50 dead hookers in his basement that we're gonna find out about soon.
yeah. Oh man. Uh, yeah, I'm fairly certain that's going to his legal fund. Um,
I mean, really, I'm just waiting for the Ted Haggard syndrome to overtake this guy.
doesn't it
It's
seem?
it's it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't it seem like all these big pastors, like they always end up doing something really, really fucking shady? Ted Haggard had, I think he was paying for like hairless Filipino boys or something, and then there's one pastor in the South here who was like all fucked up on drugs and whatnot, and he ended up impersonating a state trooper. And then of course there's the Kent Hovind, dodging tax agencies. It just seems like they always end up doing something really fucking weird or shady. Um,
That's how it is.
yeah, but I would like to point out, while we're still on the subject of Fuckerstein and whatnot, that if you were to actually go back and look at his Instagram feed, leading up to when he started getting really popular, uh, he is actually sporting some like really expensive attire and like expensive houses, expensive clothes and whatnot. But then he starts, putting off this thing where he's poor. He's a pauper preacher basically, and then he starts dressing in like shitty Walmart polo shirts and khakis and all that good stuff. It's just really funny how on his Instagram he's like balling, and then immediately there's like a complete change in his attire.
Yeah. Peter Popoff, the guy who scammed all those sick people, he drives a Bentley. What are you gonna do?
Just to remind anybody in the comments for any physics-related questions or questions directly related to Crocoduck. Um, if not, we're probably going to wrap it up. We've been going for about 2 hours now. Preacher, what seminary did he attend? I'm guessing he's meaning Fuckerstein. Fuckerstein actually went to a kind of like a Bible college, I guess. Um,
So basically, he doesn't have any education.
yes, exactly.
It's sad how some of these people will proudly say how they went to like Liberty University or Bob Jones University, and I will repeat what I said earlier to that other guy. I would not dignify their diplomas by using them as toilet paper.
I am so going to use that the next time someone spouts some of that shit at me. um, which I know that it's kind of a problem, I guess, university wide, not just in the Christians, but I feel like the Christian universities kind of have a little bit more of a abusive nature in this area of like rape, because in a lot of instances, the rape victims are made to feel like they are to blame for it, or they're lying or something like that. And I'm kind of curious how you feel about those kind of universities.
Uh, I don't really have anything new to add. I don't respect them. They're not real academic institutions. They're shit pits. That's all I can call them.
Yeah. I remember when there's a pretty scathing article about Pensacola Christian College, and I couldn't, like, I was so disgusted with the stories that I was hearing about it, that I just seriously wish I could have like teleported somehow down to the college, or quote unquote college, and shoved my foot so far up the dean's ass that he would be tasting my big toe.
Yeah.
Damien Farr says that Aaron Ra is doing a good takedown of Prague University.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. And Pastafarian Gamer likes cake.
Good for you, Pastafarian Gamer. We have something in common.
Let's see. Foxhole says, I unfortunately helped fund Liberty University. I was a member of that church and baptized the first Liberty Church establishment in Pensacola, Florida.
It's okay. We can forgive you for that. You're now one of the good guys.
Yeah. I think we probably exhausted the chat for questions and whatnot. I appreciate you coming on here, Crocoduck, and sitting through some my at times stupid questions.
I appreciated you inviting me on here.
Oh yeah, I mean I love getting to know you and really getting to learn more about you. Even if some of my questions were duh questions, but
It's all good, man.
yeah. I will say that I can't wait for your upcoming quantum mechanics series, and I will be very intimately tuned with that. I've got you set on notifications, so I will definitely be watching that as they happen. um, and if you're in the chat and you don't happen to be subscribed to King Crocoduck, I would highly suggest you going and subscribing to him now and watching his previous content, because it's all fucking good. You got anything you want to sign off with there, Casey?
Yeah, there's only one Crocoduck, and Kirk Cameron is his prophet.
Awesome. Alright, guys. Well, this will be it for tonight. I hope everybody has a nice night, weekend, and don't forget to think skeptically and stay godless.